precincts. We will hear now from our distinguished panel here about enforcement strategies at both the countywide as well as local level here in Torrance. We will begin with the Honorable Nathan Hochman, the Los Angeles County District Attorney, followed by the Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna, and concluding with the interim Torrance Police Chief Robert Dunn. Let's begin with the Honorable Nathan Hochman, the veteran prosecutor who took the LA County DA position following a landslide win over the incumbent DA last November. The Honorable Nathan Hochman, please give him a warm welcome here this evening, and good evening to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Frank. Mayor Chan, thank you so much for setting up this terrific panel. Ms. Hennessy, excellent presentation as always. So November 5th, 2024, at the end of that night, it was a Tuesday night, two big things happened that changed the course of how people who were stealing repeatedly from stores big and small in LA County were going to experience the consequences of their actions. The first thing that happened is that I got elected. And the significance of that is that I replaced certain special directives that my predecessor had put in place his first day in office. And those special directives, amongst the 9 special directives, one in particular said that misdemeanors, particularly for juveniles, were not going to be prosecuted at all. Translation, if you were under 18 and you stole just under $950, the DA's office was not going to prosecute you. Same thing, by the way, for the different types of hard drug possession cases, even if you had priors. So I lifted those special directives on my first day and rescinded them. We're not going from a decarceration mentality, which is the political philosophy that my predecessor had promulgated, basically a philosophy that said that certain crimes and certain criminals were off limits, notwithstanding the facts of the law. I didn't replace that with mass incarceration, another philosophy not anchored in the facts of the law. What I said to my prosecutors, what I also said to law enforcement, I said we're going to go back to the old-fashioned way of actually doing our job. We're going to look at the facts, we're going to look at the law, and we'll bring the crimes that need to be brought, but we're going to do it in a smart way. I described the process as sort of a hard work middle philosophy, or a hard middle philosophy. It said that no more are we going to have blanket policies. We're going to have policies that are anchored in each individual case, looking at the individual defendant and their background, the crime committed, and the impact on the victim, to determine who the true threats were to our public safety, and those are often those repeat offenders who need to be behind bars. And as importantly, the ones that aren't. The first-time nonviolent offenders still have to pay a debt back to society if they violate society's rules. But that's where other than prison alternatives come into play, whether it's community service, restitution, pay it back if you stole something, or if you have a serious drug addiction that got you to do these crimes, and you otherwise met the criteria, we will give you that choice. And that choice is you can go to prison or jail, or you can do, often it's an 18-month rigorous rehab program that if you get through one day at a time, will give you a certificate and will wipe that crime off your record. That is the hard middle approach that we adopted, and one of the 6 priority areas that we implemented it into was retail theft. So the second thing that happened the night of November 5th is that Proposition 36 passed with almost 70% of the vote. And Michelle is right, that was a reaction, a 10-year in the making reaction to Proposition 47. And so all the promises of Proposition 47 didn't come to light. In fact, one would argue either the intended, or I'll be charitable and say the unintended consequences of Proposition 47. That if you reduce the threshold on which you prosecute felonies, that if the supposed money that's going to come into the community treatment programs don't come in, what you're going to see is that the criminals are not stupid. If they understand you can steal just under $950 every single day, and it doesn't add up. So if you steal $950, $949, and you steal $949 the second day, it's not $1,800, it's $949. And you can keep doing this over and over and over again. And if you get tired of doing it in just LA County, cross the border to Ventura County, or San Diego, or San Bernardino, or Riverside, and keep going. That was Proposition 47. And Proposition 36 has now given prosecutors and law enforcement the tool to go after these chronic thieves and these chronic illegal drug users. And you heard the numbers are quite impressive. Now over 1,900 people have now been charged with Proposition 36 felonies, and over 1,100 people on the theft side, and over 1,100 on the illegal drug use side. So let me share with you two press conferences I've had. One actually I had this last Tuesday, and one I had a couple months ago, that sort of give you a little flavor of how Proposition 36 is actually happening in the community. So the first press conference I had a couple months ago, back in May, it was at a 7-Eleven. Now this 7-Eleven was located in Los Angeles. The owner was an individual owner. He had put his life savings to buy this 7-Eleven, this franchise from the 7-Eleven franchisor. And he had watched over the last several years his profits literally walk out the door. As people would come into a store, take stuff, not pay for it, wave bye-bye, because they knew that he wasn't even going to be in a position to call law enforcement. Why? Because he had called law enforcement before, and they told him that the DA's office wasn't prosecuting these cases. And he said, but I got portrait quality video. We know who did it. They said, thank you very much. The DA's office isn't prosecuting those cases, and even if they did, these are misdemeanor cases, and as Michelle told you, that misdemeanor didn't occur, that theft did not occur in my presence, so I can't arrest the person, even if the video is perfect. So I asked that store owner in particular, why didn't you file the police report for an insurance claim? He laughed at me. He said if he filed every claim for every theft, he would have lost his policy a long time ago. So he stopped calling the police. Enter Proposition 36. And there was a particular person that literally came in his store in the morning, grabbed a cup of coffee, a donut or two, waved bye-bye, came back in the afternoon, grabbed a 6-pack of beer, and actually would say thank you. And did it on a repeated basis. Until that day in May, and what happened that morning is that particular individual, when he came in, the police were waiting for him. He got charged with 12 Proposition 36 felonies. It wasn't catch and release. He got arrested, he got brought down to court. He had a whole long line of convictions for theft-related convictions. And he's going to end up doing significant either county jail or state prison. And that was the change of what actually happened. But we used that particular press conference to try and actually send a message to would-be criminals, not to go ahead and steal from these stores anymore. And along those lines, I got an idea by you'll give credit where credit's due, the Sacramento District Attorney. I named Tan Ho. I saw it at Proposition 36 conference in January. And he said, we have been able to give out certain things to businesses, 2,000 businesses in Sacramento that have really made a difference and convinced criminals not to enter a lot of those businesses. My interest was raised. Mr. Ho, what could you have possibly done that would have been so effective? I mean, were you broadcasting this on digital signs? He said, no, much more low tech. What he came up with, and I'll show you the big version and the small version, was a window sticker, 6 by 6 inches. And it had a very simple message. And by the way, since copying is the highest form of flattery, I copied it. I just changed out, got the name of district attorney, got rid of Sacramento County, we put in County of Los Angeles, but the message is pretty much the same message. Warning, this is a protected business. Thefts will be prosecuted by the Retail Theft Task Force. We created, and if anyone wants any, we have them here today, 10,000 of these window stickers. They're very simple. And all you have to do is you get one of these, we'll give them out for free, you put them on your store window. And what happens is people, the would-be criminals look at that and they might pause. And they might think, not today, or maybe not this store. And by the way, here's a dirty little secret, every business is a protected business. This one just happens to have a sticker on it. And we're willing to give out as many stickers as people want. But it's a low-tech way to send a deterrent message that, look, we don't want to fill our prisons to the breaking point. If anything, that's a failure of the criminal justice system. We want to deter the criminals from committing the crimes, saving a lot of victims in the process. So we're going to continue to deliver these type of stickers. We're actually going to break it out for residential burglary and potential residential burglars as well. We've got one regarding the works for hate crimes. Again, we're sending out the messages that people will now be held accountable. Because the sheriff and I have to deal with a DA's office that for 4 years was not sending out the message of accountability. If anything, it was a different message. We're now bringing back that message every single day. So let me then share with you the press conference this week. Interesting enough, it didn't take place in LA County. It took place in Ventura County. Because what happened is that Proposition 36, along with some companion laws, allowed two things to additionally happen. One, you could now add together thefts from a single store over different days, or if it was with the same individuals, over different stores even, if they are all part of a common scheme. So if you stole 500 here and 500 there, now you're over 1,000. And then it said, if you go ahead and steal from multiple counties, we can go ahead and bring the case in any one of the counties that you stole it. So no longer do we have an inefficiency. LA's got to bring a case against someone, Ventura has to, or whatever the other counties are. So this Tuesday, I went up to Ventura County, and the Ventura County DA's office, along with their sheriff's department, along with basically Home Depot's entire investigative team, brought down 14 people on an operation that had 600 thefts from 71 Home Depots just this year alone. Over $10 million in merchandise. It was electrical circuits and components that had been stolen. And it was basically terrorizing Home Depots. Because they're literally, the people, as you've heard, are instructed not to actively stop these people if they're going to walk out and just keep walking. Because they don't want any type of violent confrontation at a Home Depot. But Home Depot keeps the video. Home Depot analyzes the video. Home Depot uses all their technology to make sure that they can identify the crews that are doing this. Handed it over to the Ventura County Sheriff's Department. By the way, about 50 of those 71 stores were in LA County. But because of Proposition 36, they could bring one case. Now these 14 people are literally looking at somewhere between 4 and 34 years in prison. And it shut down this operation because it wasn't just the burglars, it was So my thanks is to all of you, and for that matter, anybody across the state that voted for Proposition 36. Because it really has given law enforcement some tools to finally take the fight back to the thieves. And no longer will they be able to operate in a land, I used to call it the golden age of criminals, a land of unaccountability, non-accountability. Now we're holding them to task for their illegal actions. And I'm convinced that if we have this conference in a year from now, we'll be able to see some real trend lines going in the direction that we'd like to see them. So Frank, let me again thank you for inviting me tonight and turn it back to you.